The Scent of the Unknown, Russell Acord's unforgettable night in the Hoh rainforest. The dense Pacific Northwest forest, a cathedral of ancient cedar and towering fir, holds its breath in a perpetual twilight. It is a place of profound silence and sudden, inexplicable sound, a landscape that seems to watch those who dare to enter its depths. For Russell Acord, a man who has spent more nights in the wilderness than most people spend in their own beds, this environment was as familiar as his own reflection. Yet, on one unforgettable night in the heart of Washington's Hoh rainforest, the familiar became alien, and the air itself turned thick with a presence that defied all rational explanation. It was a primal cocktail of scents, wet fur matted with decay, the iron-rich tang of old blood, and the suffocating sweetness of rotting meat, that churned the stomach and set every nerve on edge. Then, cutting through the oppressive silence, came the sound that would be seared into his memory forever, the unmistakable, deliberate, and terrifyingly close crunch of massive, bipedal footsteps, circling just beyond the desperate reach of his flashlight's trembling beam. This was not just another night in the woods for the star of Discovery Channel's Expedition Bigfoot. It was the terrifying and exhilarating culmination of a lifelong obsession, a moment where years of methodical research, personal sacrifice, and unwavering belief collided in a 72-hour ordeal that would nearly break him and forever redefine his quest. From a grainy VHS to a soldier's mission, the forging of an investigator. The seed of this relentless pursuit was planted in the flickering glow of a television screen in a Montana cabin. A 9-year-old Russell Acord sat, utterly captivated, as the grainy, shaky images of the Patterson-Gimlin film unfolded. The figure of Patty, striding with powerful, purposeful gait through the California wilderness, did not simply startle him, it called to him. It tapped into a deep, ancestral memory, a whisper from the wild places of the world that there were still mysteries left unsolved. While for many this would remain a passing childhood fascination, for Russell it became a central pillar of his identity. His path to becoming a premier Bigfoot investigator was not a straight line through the woods, but rather one forged in the disciplined crucible of military service. A retired U.S. Army veteran with 22 years of service, Acord's childhood in the rugged Bitterroot Mountains of Montana had already given him a native's understanding of the wild. The Army sharpened this into a razor's edge. He learned advanced tracking, survival in hostile environments, and, most importantly, the methodological patience of a tactical operator. He learned to observe, to analyze, and to never jump to conclusions without evidence. This soldier's discipline would become his greatest asset in a field often clouded by sensationalism and hoax. "What sets me apart," Acord explains, his voice a low, measured rumble, "is that I treat every expedition like a military reconnaissance mission. It's not about hoping to see something, it's about deploying assets, gathering intelligence, and letting the data lead the way." His motto, often repeated to his teams and to viewers, underscores this philosophy: "The day we stop looking for the impossible is the day we stop being human." The Hoh Incident, a symphony of the unexplained. The pinnacle of this methodological quest occurred deep within the emerald, moss-draped labyrinth of the Hoh rainforest. Acord and his hand-picked team had established a sophisticated grid search pattern, saturating a half-mile radius with military-grade motion sensors, thermal imaging cameras, and audio recording equipment. For the first night, the ancient forest was silent, yielding nothing. Then, at the precise and haunting hour of 2:17 a.m., the forest erupted. Every sensor in a half-mile radius triggered simultaneously, Russell recalls, his eyes losing focus as he drifts back to that moment, his voice still tinged with a visceral awe. It wasn't a cascade, it was a single, unified blast of data. Our command post lit up like a Christmas tree. The thermal drones we launched showed a massive heat signature, moving at nearly 35 miles per hour through a ravine choked with deadfall and devil's club, terrain that would challenge an Olympic athlete. Then, the smell hit us, that god-awful, suffocating mix of wet dog and death. That's when I knew, in my gut, we weren't dealing with any known animal. This was intelligent. This was purposeful. It was hurting us. What followed was a relentless, 72-hour psychological and physical siege that tested the team's endurance and sanity. The forest, once silent, became a symphony of the unexplained. Eerie, guttural vocalizations echoed their own calls and even seemed to mimic the electronic chirps of their equipment. Rocks and thick pieces of wood were thrown from impossible angles, landing with unnerving accuracy just feet from their positions, yet the thrower was never seen. The most persistent and unnerving sensation was the unshakable feeling of being watched, not by a single pair of eyes, but by many, studying their every move with a cold, calculating intelligence. Yet, amid the chaos, Accord's training held firm. While fear was a natural response, it was not allowed to govern their actions. His team, operating like a well-drilled unit, collected a trove of unprecedented evidence. Over the 3 days, they documented 14 distinct footprints pressed deep into the loamy soil. The casts later revealed a non-human dermal ridge pattern and, most significantly, a pronounced mid-tarsal break, an anatomical feature unique to primates, allowing for a flexible foot and impossible to fake convincingly. Soil samples taken from the center of the activity showed astronomically elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones that did not match the biochemical profile of any local fauna like bears or deer. It was as if the very ground was saturated with the residue of primal fear. Perhaps the most compelling piece was the infrared footage of a tall, powerfully built, bipedal figure, estimated at 7 to 8 feet tall, moving through the dense undergrowth. It didn't flee blindly, it moved with a deliberate, stealthy gait, consistently altering its path to avoid the team's camera placements, demonstrating an unsettling level of environmental awareness and tactical avoidance. They all said the same thing in the end, that I cared more about the hunt than them. And in a way, they were right. This isn't a hobby, it's a compulsion. When you're home, but your mind is 1,000 miles away in a forest, listening for a sound, it creates a chasm. He has faced financial instability, pouring his own resources into expeditions and equipment, and endured the constant, condescending ridicule from mainstream science, which often dismisses his work without examining the evidence. These pressures led to dark periods, months spent alone in the wilderness chasing shadows, moments of profound isolation where he questioned his own sanity and the very reality of his life's work. But then, he says, his eyes lighting up with the fervor of a true believer, you get that one piece of evidence that changes everything. It's the click in the lock. Like the time we recorded vocalizations that matched known Sasquatch call databases but contained distinct, complex regional dialects, suggesting a form of language. Or when we found those intricate nesting sites, structures woven together in the canopy, showing clear, repeated signs of tool use. That's what keeps me going. That's the fuel. A legacy forged in the wild, the mentor and the foundation. Now in his late 50s, Russell Accord's mission has evolved from a personal quest for discovery to the building of a lasting legacy. The solitary hunter has become a mentor and an institution builder. He has established the Accord Research Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to funding serious, peer-reviewed cryptozoological studies and, most importantly, mentoring a new generation of field researchers. He teaches them to be disciplined, skeptical, and thorough, to be scientists of the shadows. His upcoming book, 30 Years in the Shadow of the Sasquatch, promises to be a magnum opus, compiling his most groundbreaking findings and encounters, data he believes could finally force the rigid walls of academia to reconsider what is possible. The greatest discovery in this field, Russell muses, looking out toward the tree line, isn't going to be a body or a clear photo. Those are moments. The real revolution will be the moment institutional science admits, with a collective voice, that we have been sharing this continent with another intelligent, non-human species all along. It will be a paradigm shift that humbles us, that redefines our place in the natural world. And when that day comes, everything changes. As night falls once more in the Oregon backcountry, Russell Acord checks the batteries in his thermal imager and shoulders a lighter pack than he once carried. The years have weathered him, but his resolve has not dimmed. Somewhere in the gathering darkness, beyond the circle of his campfire's light, the truth waits. And Russell Acord, soldier, seeker, and steadfast keeper of the world's greatest natural mystery, will never, ever stop searching for it. His story is a testament to the enduring power of curiosity, a challenge to the known world, and a reminder that the map of our planet still has edges that bleed into legend.